Thank you very much, Anthony. It's a pleasure to speak here on behalf of Global Investment Holdings and Global Ports Holding. My presentation will be in three parts, but a good news is it's going to be brief. I'll talk about Global Ports Holding, the cruise industry, the state of it right now, and our port development process and how we approach to acquiring ports all over the world. Global Ports Holding is currently the world's largest cruise port operator. As Global Investment Holdings, we started investing into ports back in 2003, and we were an operator with only 3 ports in Turkey until 2013. And from the beginning of 2014 until the end of 2020, we acquired in total 17 ports in 11 countries. And now we are proud to be the world's largest cruise port operator with operations in 12 countries, serving 30 million passengers. These are the 2019 passenger numbers. And we have a leading position in also the Mediterranean with 30% market share. GPH is listed on the London Stock Exchange since 2017, and we are a truly global company with 20 nationalities working at GPH. So we view ourselves as a truly global company. The acquisition spree between 2014 and 2020, as I said, resulted in our acquisition of 17 ports within this time. We have a portfolio which now spans in Europe, predominantly in Mediterranean, in Asia, and recently in the Caribbean, where we have been very active within the past 2-3 years. And we operate the marquee ports in almost all of the continents that we operate. Just to give you examples, Barcelona, which is one of the largest home ports in the world, and the largest home port of the Mediterranean is being operated by GPH. Venice, where we are a shareholder, is also under our umbrella. Lisbon, Valletta in Malta are very important cruise ports in our portfolio, and also for the whole cruise world as well. We are very active in Italy, and we are expanding our reach. And Spain is also one of our most important markets. In Asia, we are active. We've been a shareholder in Singapore since 2014, and we recently acquired Halong Bay Cruise Port in Vietnam. And of course, we are continuing with our development efforts in Asia. But Caribbean is where we are very active right now because it's 40% of the whole cruise market. And we were successful in closing 2 transactions back in 2019, where we acquired the world's largest transit cruise port, Nassau Cruise Port, and a very important port in southern Caribbean, Antigua, St. John's Cruise Port. And we've been operating the Havana Cruise Port since 2018 in Cuba. So that's our portfolio right now. We have a different approach to ports operation. Of course, ports, be them commercial ports or cruise ports, are an integral part of the city that they operate in. And sometimes when you look at it, it's even for an entire country. If it's a Caribbean country, for example, Antigua has only 70,000 residents living. It's a country, and more than 60% of their GDP comes from tourism. So, and cruise is one of the most important components of that. That's why we see ourselves as a partner for the cruise lines, obviously, because they are our customers throughout the world. The cruise line passengers, of course, we are also serving them. We are trying to change, and I think we have been very successful in transforming the cruise terminals into activity centers, not as active as the airports, but where the people can spend time in a more relaxed environment and can do some shopping and buy their excursions. So it's a transformation of the terminal from the airports of 40 years ago to the airports of today. Hopefully, started a process that started a few years ago and will continue to resume in the coming years. We also see ourselves as a partner for the governments and also the fellow citizens of those countries, because when we are investing into a destination, it's not only into the cruise port infrastructure or superstructure, but we are also very actively engaged in developing the cruise tourism product, or even the wider tourism product in a city or in a country, depending on the situation. So, as I said, we're now actively being represented in 12 countries. When you look at the cruise industry, it's been growing relatively fast. It had a compound annual growth rate of about 6% between 1995 and 2019, and it's been really resilient until COVID. These are the events that were deterrent to tourism, especially cruise tourism, in the past. We saw lots of wars, the SARS in the past, the Mexican crisis, the ISIS situation, and a lot of either global or regional events that could have impacted the cruise industry. Of course, the 9/11 was also one of them. But we see that it recovered very fast following those crises. And a very interesting statistics about the cruise industry is that the cruise vessels are always full at more than 100% capacity, which is of course much more interesting than what you would have at an airline that would have between 80 to 85% capacity utilization of any plane. Of course, COVID was a very, very unexpected and a negative event for the cruise industry. We still have vessels docked or sailing around the Bahamas these days, but it's coming back, albeit slowly. And as you can see, this big drop from about 28 million unique passengers to, I don't know, I think it's about 1 or 2 million or maybe 3 million, depending on what will happen in the second half of the year. But the expectation is that it's going to recover very fast and it's going to go back to its own pace of growth, reaching about between 50 to 60 million passengers a year around the year 2040. So this is also the approach that we have, and that's why we are continuing our destination development efforts throughout the world. This is a snapshot of what's happening. Just to give you an update, I'm sure you are also following. We have vessels coming to some of our ports in Europe, such as Barcelona, and of course Valletta is having calls. Some of our ports in Italy are having calls these days. Starting from the second quarter to third quarter, we think the sailings are going to increase, also due to the vaccination efforts in Europe. Asia is also seeing passengers. I think we had about more than 100,000 passengers in Singapore recently since the outbreak of COVID. The US market, the Caribbean market is dominated by sailings from Miami, but since US has a no sail order right now, we are going to start the cruise season in the Caribbean from new home ports such as Nassau, which is operated by GPH, and also from Antigua, which is operated by GPH. So some level of activity is going to shift to other Caribbean destinations, and hence from June on, we're going to see vessels sailing in the Caribbean. And of course, we think the CDC is going to uphold their no sail order in the third to fourth quarter. So we're going to see a lot of cruise activity in the Caribbean in the fourth quarter. So when we come to how we develop port projects, we are almost always at the buy side. Although we sold our commercial port Antalya at the beginning of this year. This is the way that we approach to port development. In fact, destination development. We are a team of about 10 people out of Istanbul and Miami, but of course supported by the whole global port holding team, from their technical people to their operations people to the commercial people. So the governments usually have an appetite for an operator because the cruise industry is changing rapidly. The vessel sizes are increasing. They have to invest into new infrastructure. They already have outstanding loans from previous infrastructure investments. So they would need somebody to come and invest into their infrastructure and terminals. But of course, that's also not enough because they also need to somebody also has to need to improve their tourism product. So we are that's also one of the objectives of why they want to have operators such as ourselves. Since GDP, most part of the GDP, especially the Caribbean, is from tourism. The fellow citizens of the countries also welcome operators such as ourselves, because it's going to take them to the next level. Otherwise, the ships are going to sail past their islands, and if infrastructure is not there, there is nothing that they can do, and their GDP would shrink. When we have divided our project development efforts into 5 distinct parts. It starts with project screening. At any time, we work on 20 to 30 cruise ports globally. And these are sourced to us by either third-party advisors or governments themselves approach us, or we already always have a strategy of where we're going to grow, and it's all usually the marquee ports all around the world. So we also approach to the governments or to the relevant port authorities to start discussions with them. And then we have if there is or there are also tenders throughout the world that are brought to our attention by all of these parties. We look at them after the screening part. If it's interesting for us, we put it to pre-feasibility, and we prepare the financial model. We assess the growth potential. We talk to our technical and operational and commercial and marketing people. And if we're convinced that we need it's a feasible project, and if we have come to some kind of an agreement with the counterparty, We have an MOU and due diligence stage where we conduct due diligence and also discuss an MOU. And then if it's going to be a concession, at that point we negotiate the concession agreement with the authority and also discuss the financing with the usually from the region where we're going to be the concession negotiations. And once we reach the happy end, we have the closing, the financial closing, and of course, at the point where we are negotiating the concession agreement and the financing, we involve GPH operations and technical people, and we give their new port to them at closing. So that's how we approach to cruise ports or cruise development, cruise destination development process throughout the world. And that concludes my presentation. If there are any questions, I could answer.